Thanks for tuning in to my live show here. Um, I made a post last night on Facebook, and it was with regards to leadership. And I've been thinking a lot about, there's just a lot going on in the world, and we're making a lot of jokes about it. But we some of our coping techniques is to make jokes about things that are very difficult to deal with. And obviously, most people will agree 2020 has come with a lot of challenges. There's been a substantial amount of challenges for all of us. Um, People have different stories about what that looks like, but it's just that there's been a lot that's been happening, and so I don't want to get into all the details, obviously, but what I'm thinking about a lot is about leadership. And it's interesting because there's a lot of complaints about disinformation. There's a lot of complaints on people arguing about what is true and not true. And I started thinking about what would change that. And so this is not a political video, by the way. Let me just give that disclosure. It's not about leadership as far as politics, because that's just not the direction I want to go in with this. However, it is about leadership on a bigger level. And so when people argue and they are blocking people, I just saw a post about somebody being blocked because they didn't agree with something, and they were apparently having a civil discussion, but in the end, the person blocked them. And there's when people are getting that upset, when it's hitting, what it's hitting is it's hitting that reptilian mindset or that fight or flight part of our brain, and it's really hitting all of our buttons of anxiety. And when we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when we look at that, it's really shaking people's trees, so to speak. And in those times, leadership is very important, because when you have a leader and the leader stands up and says, hey, this is the direction that we're going to go into. And what does a leader do? A leader listens. A leader leads by example. A leader will do what they suggest to other people. They will learn from their mistakes. So it's not that they're not human beings and they don't make mistakes. They hold themselves accountable. One of my friends made a comment on my post about accountability. And of course, there's a lot of things going on in this world where there's not a lot of accountability happening within the planet. And what does that mean exactly? It means that we're doing a lot of finger pointing and blaming of problems at other people or one group of people, instead of looking at what we're contributing to this. And so arguing and blocking people never brought unity together. It never brought unity. And arguing about what is true or not true is not creating solutions to the problem, so to speak. Now, there's what is called a lot of cognitive dissonance happening. If you would have asked me 3 to 4 months ago that we would have been in a lockdown, that we would have been going through the things that we were going through, I would have told you were crazy. If you would have said 6 months to a year ago that we'd be arguing over the things that we're arguing over right now, that good friends of many years would stop talking to each other, I would have thought you were crazy. If you would have said to me a year ago that governors and mayors would be arguing with each other and overriding each other's decisions and doing things like that, I would have thought you were nuts. And when it's actually starting to happen, you realize that that's really uncomfortable for all of us, because it's not like Americans haven't ever had disagreements before. It's not like that we haven't ever had arguments before, because of course we have. And with that being said, it's really to a new level right now. And what that tells me is that everybody's fight or flight, their fears, everything that's going on with them is being pushed, like every little button is being pushed on them. In a sense, we could say that that's a good thing, because it makes us face it, right? And with that being said, we are going to have to be our own leaders. So in other words, we're going to have to be the example of our own way of thinking. So look deep within yourself about your own core values and who you are as a person. What is important to you? And what are you going to accept? Because each time you buy into something, It's like you sign a contract and say, I'm going to go into this with you, even if it's to argue. And so what is it you really want for you, yourself, your family, your friends, and the people, your community, the people that you care about? And so if that's that you want to find peace and have equality for everybody, then start treating people with equality. Then start treating people with acceptance and love and understanding, instead of pointing your finger at them and wondering why they're not living the way that you think that they should live. Instead of screaming at somebody, calmly ask for understanding. And so the reason being is because that if you calmly ask for understanding, then you can get to a point where not only you can understand, but then you can explain yourself. And if you calmly listened, I bet you that that person, after, you know, if you're the example, if you're the leader of listening, then that person will listen. How do I know that? Because there's this wonderful thing called neuro-linguistic programming. And what it talks about is it talks about body mirroring or verbal mirroring. And what that means is that people will follow the suggestion or the actions of a person that is strong in who they are. And so what that means is that if you talk softly, or if you talk at a normal level while somebody's yelling, they have to come down to where you're at. If you treat them with respect, they may take them a while to realize, but they will start to come down and have respect. And if you've ever worked in a call center, I always jokingly say this, you can speak to an angry, irate person, and a lot of times, if you treat them with respect, they'll actually call you back and apologize. I've had that happen many times. Not always, but it does happen. So what leadership is about is that you just become this living example of whatever it is you feel is strong for you. If you feel very strongly about you know, wearing mask, then wear mask and wear it proud. If you feel very strongly that you need to go out and protest about civil rights, then go out and protest about civil rights. If you feel very strongly about peace on earth and that you should be an example of love and understanding, then be that. And so, and what happens is that when you do that, things are going to happen that are going to trigger you. I mean, it's just the nature of the universe, because when you set on a course, what the universe is going to do is it's going to bring you a series of lessons that make you face yourself. And so if you're going to want to go out and speak truth about understanding and synergy and in being empowered within yourself, then guess what? People are going to try to shake up that empowerment. People are going to try to question you, and that's the way that things are. Hi, Sam. How are you? I hope you're doing well. And so you have to understand that whatever direction you set course for, the universe, what it does is it creates situations to make you stronger in that understanding and in that course. And that's how the universe works. It's actually a natural law or universal law called gestation, meaning whatever you set your intention to, it's going to prepare you for the final outcome, so to speak. And so these are things that are really just super important for us to understand. And so instead of spending so much time arguing, and trust me, I started to do it in April and May, mainly because I was bored and I had some beliefs that didn't agree with other people, and I just realized it's time to stop. It's time to stop. And what are my core beliefs, my core principles? My core principles are loving and acceptance and understanding, and even loving and understanding and acceptance of people that I don't agree with. And why? Because I really believe strongly in this principle called seek first to understand and then to be understood. It's very hard to practice sometimes. And with that being said, sometimes we have to say no to our impulse, our ego that wants to bitch slap somebody. We have to do that because if I really believe in seek first to understand and then to be understood, then I have to stop and listen before I get upset with somebody. And that's really what it's all about. And these are the things that people don't want to hear. We want to get mad at the leaders because they're not doing what we think that they're going to do. I hate to tell you this, you're never going to be in full agreement with politicians and the leaders of our country or our world. Never. It's just never going to happen. Because why? We're all different. And if you've ever been a leader or a manager of a business, you're never going to please everybody. If on a smaller scale, if you really think about this, you're never going to please everybody. And that's just the way the world is. And so with that being said, you have to be okay with the fact that people aren't going to agree with you. And you have to be okay with the fact that you're not always going to agree with your leaders. Now, you can speak up. You can speak your truth. As a matter of fact, our throat chakra tells us that we need to speak up and speak our truth. And what it says is that when you speak your truth and live your truth in an empowered state, then this opens up and illuminates for you. And so that's very powerful when you really, really think about it. And so what ends up happening? It's really quite profound when you really think about it, is that we're afraid to speak up because we don't want to have to deal with the consequences that come. Now we can choose on what we're going to speak about, whatever resonates with our soul. And the message that's been coming to me over the past few months is there's certain things I'm not going to speak up about because it's not worth the effort and the anxiety or the anger that comes with it. But what resonates with my soul is to speak about peace and understanding and compassion. And so those are things that when we really start to think about it, that's the core value that is understood, but the core value of who I am. It may be different for you. And what's the really cool part is I'm going to introduce you guys with a term called synergy. And what is synergy? It means when you bring two or more ideas together and you create something greater together than you would in the individual basis. And why is that super important to understand? It means that because we're all different, because we all have different ideas, if we come together and we speak and we live our truth and we're leaders that listen and understand, seek first to understand and then to be understood, then what ends up happening is that we start to build this world that's tremendously greater than what we had before. What's happening right now is we're arguing with each other. We're blocking each other. When you block somebody, you block an aspect of yourself because what? They say that we're all one. That's a very Buddhist principle. But the truth is that person is another human being like you. You may not agree with who they are. You may not agree with their standpoint. And with that being said, if you listen and show understanding, then it will really change the dynamics of who you are. I was watching a documentary recently, and I cannot remember this gentleman's name, but he was a musician, and he was a black man that started going around and becoming friends with members of the Ku Klux Klan. And what he was trying to do is he was trying to bring unity. And why did he do this? He would listen to these men that hated him, and he would talk to them. And one of them he became very good friends with, and the gentleman that was part of the KKK actually left as a result of this man. And I want to say the last name was Davis or something. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen it, so I forgot. But it's a very powerful statement about how he asked questions, but he did more listening. And as he did more listening, he broke down the ice and he broke down the understanding and he created bridges as opposed to barriers. And I thought that was really super powerful. And I thought, wow, if this man has been spending the last 40 years of his life building bridges as opposed to building walls, what would happen if we were all doing that? What would happen if we all became leaders in our own right and we started listening more than we were talking? Somebody used to say to me, you have 2 ears and one mouth, there, and you have it there for a reason. And so we're all just trying to talk about what we want, and we're not doing enough time listening about what others want. Now, there needs to be some changes in the world, and there's people that are against those changes. And so the interesting part about that is the people that are usually against those changes, they are afraid of losing what is here now. And so why are they afraid of that? Because people are terrified of change because they're not sure of what's going to happen on the other side. However, leaders would encourage them and listen and still try to bring some security to them so that their feelings of insecurity will start to calm down. And so I just find this really powerful, and there needs to be more heart in the world. And because if you really think about things in the world, we all want love. You know, for those of the parents, they all want their children to feel safe and loved. They all want them to have a greater life than what they have. And so that doesn't change with who you are. Maybe the story around that changes. However, really what it comes down to is we all at the core want the same things. You know, I don't want to spend too much time today. I missed my Monday show that I was going to do last week. I just had a lot going on. I am going to do my Wednesday show this week. I did do a wonderful show with a woman that lost her son in July of 2019, and she's a healer out in Sedona, Arizona, and she's been able to speak to her son ever since he stepped on the other side. And so it reminded me of my story of my mother, how I've been able to speak with her and how she's made it very obvious that she's still around. And so there's just a lot that's going on in this world. And I think I'm very blessed to know a lot of you that watch my live feeds. And I'm very blessed that you do watch. Thank you so much. It really, really touches my heart that you do. And let's start working to build a new world. Let's start working to have compassion for others. Now, I'm not as interested in what your individual facts. I'll listen, of course. I will always listen. And my message is about how do we find the common ground, and how do we find. There's actually an image I would like to pull up just before I end the night. And so let me see if I can pull it up really quick. Crucial. There's this book out there. I would like everybody, if you get a chance, it's called Crucial Conversations. And it's a very, very powerful book. But the image that I want to show you is, I think, a very powerful statement. So this, I've shown this before on shows. So here it is. Let me just download this image. This is the problem when you get things coming up really fast. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Almost there, my friends. All right, here it is. All right, so this is interesting because this image is about basically we have this, each person is going through their story. So during this, this is another person, this is you, this is another person. This image is not quite what I'm looking for, but I wanted to be able to see what is happening here in the middle. This is a pool of shared meaning. So this means this is me, this is my story, this is how I feel, these are my emotions behind it. Hi, Stacy, how are you? And this is another person, this is their feelings, this is their story, and everything that's going on with them. We've got to get to a place where there's a pool of shared meaning. We obviously don't want in a place where there's silence, because if there's silence, then we're not speaking up. Then we're not speaking the truth. We've got to get this stuff out. We've got to face the shadow that's within us so that we can start changing the world. And then we obviously don't want to go to violence, because that's what's been happening. We've been arguing with people, we've been blocking them, and nothing's getting resolved. And then obviously the safety circles here, this is where, you know, things are kind of leading, but things are really still not getting resolved. But if we get pool of shared meaning, what's pool of shared meaning? This is where we get to the place where we've mastered our story on either side, meaning we've all done our own inner work. And then we can start speaking about what are the core issues. And the truth is, what are the core issues? We all want to have health, safety, love, understanding, homes, and we want to build on our life, enjoy our lives. And there's no reason why you can't enjoy your life. And that's the key thing. I was just talking with my roommate the other day where there was like, There's nothing in this world that says you can't enjoy your life. But the programming that's been given to us has been telling us that you have to do certain things. You have to work hard, and you have to do it this way. And we all have different ideas of what that should be. And so nothing ever gets resolved because we're always at odds, and we can't be at odds, because the truth is you have to understand, we're the power in the world. We, as souls, we're the power in this world. And if you understand that, if you understand the energy behind the empowerment that you have, and if you can come together in the heart with each other, then our power and our authority of who we are will bring everybody else along. And so, but it doesn't come by us forcing or telling them what to do or pushing it on them. It doesn't come with arguing or yelling. It comes from us all working together in the heart. And that comes by the leaders starting to demonstrate this by example. And that's the true power. Much love. If you all want to go and sign up for my newsletter, it's down. There's a link to my website, and you can go there, and it'll actually send you back a free CD. Stacy, you might like it. It's Virginia and I talking for about 72 minutes. And so I think you guys will really enjoy it. Much love. And I do sessions. If you want to check out my website, I do private sessions via Zoom. So much love, everybody, and have a blessed week.